did we get to this point? It began when I was a young 14-year-old in an FBC junior high camp at Zephyr Lodge out at Liberty Lake. And the Spirit of God caused me, a young Pharisee who was just wrapped in self-righteousness, to be born again by the grace and mercy of Jesus and had a desire to know him and to proclaim him. And by God's grace, I grew up in a family that cherished God's work around the world. And my parents made it a priority as I grew up to serve in global context so that the glasses by which I saw and understood the world and the gospel were not U.S.-centric, but globally minded and globally focused. So thus, starting in high school and in college, God provided opportunities to serve alongside missionaries in short-term contexts. In Venezuela on 3 different occasions, alongside the Belches and Widmers, alongside the Moors in France. And in the summer of 2004, Heidi got to serve as a nurse alongside Evelyn Hatton in Zambia. God provided 3 trips to Ethiopia, as Greg mentioned, as we're in the process of adopting our sons, Ezra and Moses. And then serving alongside Phil and Denise in growth group ministry off and on for the past 5 years has served as a great impetus in our hearts being stirred to be goers. God also graciously provided the means and opportunity to travel to Cameroon in December of 2011 to take part in a New Testament dedication among the Noni people group there. And having the Spirit of God work in our hearts as we open and pour over the scriptures, you see that it is the heartbeat of God to take the gospel that we love and cherish to the nations. From here at FBC, into Willard Elementary, into Spokane, into Washington, the U.S., and to the ends of the earth. And that's what he's been doing in our hearts. So as we make this transition, what will we be doing? In August of this year, 2013, our family will be moving to Los Fresnos, Texas, which is about 20 minutes outside the Mexican border. And there we will spend 2 years for the purpose of being trained at the Center for Pioneer Church Planning in affiliation with To Every Tribe Mission Agency. And we'll begin learning the absolutely necessary and essential items and manner of life that is necessary to take the gospel to areas of the world where there is no yet gospel witness. The training will include a host of in-class training, including theology and missiology, communication in those specific contexts, and then also serving alongside long-term missionaries who are in southern Mexico, Papua New Guinea, potentially in Indonesia and India also. So we don't know the exact country the Lord has called us to at this point, but we do know the one who has called us down this road, and he is leading us one step at a time. And that's why we feel like these 2 years is absolutely essential and necessary as we make these steps so that we know, is this truly what the Lord has called us to? Has he called us to a tribal situation? Has he called us to a situation in a big city? Dustin, what about your kids? What about Ezra and Olivia and Camille and Moses? And we can assure you with full confidence that we're taking them with us. And we just desire and long that they would grow up in a context and in a family that are goers on the field, and that they see a picture of God in that context. And while we're in Texas, Heidi will be homeschooling the kids while we're there, while I'm in classes. And there's a host of other families that are in the same situation as us, so there's a great community there. A fair amount of the training involves the spouse and the children because of the intensity and the breadth of the work that the whole family unit is necessary in making the transition. And we acknowledge that this road will be hard and excruciating at times, and we will miss our growth group, our church, our family, our friends here at FBC and in Spokane. But we can rest in God's promises that when he says to his disciples and he says to us, go make disciples, I will be with you to the end of the age. That promise, that cherishing of that promise is more than endless amounts of gold in this world. So between now and July, we're asking that the Lord would raise up an army of senders who would be able to partner with us in prayer, and some who are able to and desires to partner with us financially to help us go down that road so that we together can reach an unreached people group. And we need to be at full support in July, so as we make that transition in August. So why are we going? As Isaac Watts sums up in one of my favorite hymns, a love so amazing, so divine, It demands my soul, my life, my all. There are 3 billion across the globe who have never heard that truth and truly have no access to that truth. No local believer to take the gospel to them. No church that cherishes Christ. So his glory is our heartbeat. And God says that he will be worshiped among every tongue, tribe, and nation. And there are still tongues and tribes and nations that not yet have a gospel witness. So thus, he's calling us, and us as a whole, as those who cherish Christ and the gospel, and we get the privilege of being goers to go make disciples. So 3 billion is hard to fathom. So imagine with me that the United States, among the 311 million or so who live here, imagine that this was an unreached place. Imagine if there were only 5 churches in the U.S., all east of the Mississippi. We would desire them to go from their city, into their state, and beyond, to take the gospel and plant Christ-exalting churches. We would long that there would be gospel pioneers who would cross those lands and come to us in Spokane, so thus, let us go. In the pioneering and expansion days of the U.S., people would cross rivers, mountains. They'd go without food. They'd eat less than ideal food. Why? For the purpose of new land, gold, and treasure, all of which is perishable, and we have that which is imperishable. There's a vast panorama of places across the world that we need to pioneer with the gospel. And there's souls to be won in God's harvest, discipled and trained so that they can reach out in their local communities and send missionaries. Take India, for example. 1.1 billion people in the country of India. And the country of India has a huge amount of unreached people groups. And they have no access to the gospel. There are more people in India than the whole Western hemisphere of the world. Oh, that God would use our church here to be a launching pad to send missionaries into God's harvest. Jesus told his disciples, and he tells us likewise, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. And may we be a people characterized by that passionate prayer. Some heroes of mine are the Moravian Christian community of the 1700s. They were a Christian community, and in August of 1727, God worked among them in such a way, as historians write, that they learned to love one another. It was a Christian community of about 300 people, and God worked in their hearts in such a way that over the course of the next 100 years, among those 300, there was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week prayer chain for God to be magnified in their life and to the ends of the earth. And he allowed them in a 30-year period to send hundreds of missionaries to the nations, into Africa, into South America, and North America at that point. And may we be those who follow in those footsteps of our brothers and sisters. The Moravian mission rallying cry became, may the Lamb that was slain receive the reward of his suffering. The Lamb has conquered. Let us follow him.